Hello everyone, what's going on? I've been working on this one deck for a while now. It is my hero branded deck that is mostly hero, but has a little bit of the branded stuff kind of mixed in. So I figured I'd kind of go into a bit of a deck breakdown to kind of show you guys a little bit of what I'm playing. I guess let's just get right into it. So starting off, we're playing 3 copies of Stratos. Stratos is a definite 3. You need him for sure. He's gonna be the best way for your searcher and your back row removal, because you can search any hero monster with him on summon of normal or special summon of him, or if you have another hero on your field, you can use him to pop some back row, so he's a definite 3 of in this deck. Next, we're going with 3 copies of Shadow Mist as well. If this card is special summoned, you can add a change quick play spell from your deck to hand, which is really good to go into here to then bring out your copy of Masked Hero Dark Law. Or if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add another hero monster from deck to hand. So another good way, either way, to combo off with these 2 to get your searches going. Next, I'm going with 2 copies of Liquid Soldier. I really like Liquid Soldier because if you do have something where you're kind of a little off, if you have your Stratos in the graveyard and you normal summon your Liquid Soldier, re-bring out Stratos, then you can then pop out something, pop a back row with Stratos. And the really good thing about Liquid Soldier is if you fusion summon with using him as one of the materials, you get a draw 2 and discard 1. So it's a really good kind of graceful charity, pretty much, with using him as material. So really good card to have at least a 2 with him. Now I like to still play a good 1 of with Blazeman. Blazeman has a really good effect of being able to on summon search polymerization specifically by name. Or if you don't use that effect, you can use the other effect of sending a hero monster, an elemental hero monster from deck to graveyard, and then this card's attribute and name becomes that hero monster's name. So therefore, you can make this into a different attribute if you wanted to turn it into water for a Liquid Soldier, if you wanted to do something like that. Or another way to send your Shadow Mist to the graveyard to get the search off from Shadow Mist. So really good, just 1 of with him. And then another really good kind of 1 of is going to be the elemental hero Spirit of Neos. If you're getting attacked, you can special summon him out in defense, and then it cannot be destroyed by battle. With 2000 defense is not that high, but still pretty decent to kind of protect yourself a little bit like that. And then on special summon, you can either get another polymerization again, or a spell trap that mentions elemental hero in its name, which a lot of the spells are pretty generic, pretty good to actually just have just a copy of, so you can get a searcher for other playmakers that you may need. Another good 1 of I like to have that's kind of related to the elemental heroes is the Crosskeeper, because it lets you discard this card to then special summon a elemental hero from your hand, or Neospacian, but we're not playing any of the Neospacians. But if you special summon from the hand or graveyard, but if you special summon from the graveyard, its effects are negated, but from the hand, it doesn't change anything. Since I'm not running too many elemental heroes, I only like to play 1 of, because just the one that gets you your free special summon of Stratos instead of having to normal summon it. I like playing it this way instead of doing like the hero lives where you have to use half your life points to be able to do this. This allows you to do it on either whether you have a field or not. So that's it for the elemental hero monsters. Let's go into some of the Destiny hero stuff. So for the Destiny heroes, playing 1 copy of Denier, really easy to bring this back out. If you have any Destiny hero on the field, you can special summon this card out once per duel. But you also get the effect of taking one of your Destiny hero monsters that is in your banished or in the graveyard and adding it back on top of the deck. So it lets you kind of recycle some of your used materials back into the deck if you really need to. It's a really good 1 of with him. And then, you're playing the hero deck, you gotta play the 2 copies of Malicious. Malicious is just a perfect card to let you go into another copy of himself to get into your Link plays or any other kind of hero related play. I really like kind of comboing this off with the Denier because you can banish 1 Malicious, bring out a Malicious, activate Denier's effect to take your Malicious that is in the banish zone to re-put it into your deck and then do some plays again. So he's only limit 2 anyway, so having 2 is perfect enough for him. Next, we have your kind of other Fusion Destiny option with Destiny Hero Dasher. If you don't want to go into the Malicious plays right away, or you want to save that for later, Dasher is a really good card, because then during your draw phase, you can actually use this effect to special summon the card during the draw phase if you draw into a monster. So it lets you get into pretty much any monster onto the field pretty much for free. So it's a really good one up there. And then if your opponent's playing a deck that is really kind of monster reliant on their field, 1 copy of Plasma is all you really need for this deck. One side is Seal Drain, doesn't cost you anything. Yeah, it's pretty easy to beat over, but if you activate the effect to take some of your opponent's monster, you can turn it into a pretty decent beater if need be. So turning off your opponent's field, really good with Plasma. That's all I'm playing for the Destiny heroes. Let's continue on into the Vision heroes. So for Vision heroes, I like to play only 2 copies of Ferris. Having 3, I find in this particular build ends up being a little too bricky because you may not necessarily have the hero that you want in hand to be able to discard for Ferris's summon effect. So 2 ends up being kind of perfect, I find, to kind of start your Vision hero plays off. Having 2 copies of Vion, even if this is just your first normal summon, you can send 1 hero from your deck to the graveyard, which you would then send your copy of Shadow Mist and get the effect of Shadow Mist, and then you can get your activate the effect of getting rid of another hero monster in the graveyard to add Polymerization. So it's a Foolish Burial and a Polymerization Search, just kind of walking. So, and it's a dark, so you can even mass change to get into Dark Law if you have to. And third and final is your Increase. Increase is literally just here for the effect of Ferris. It's kind of annoying that it kind of has to be from the deck. So if you end up opening this in your opening hand, it is definitely a Garnet, definitely a bit of a brick, but only one of them makes your chances of that pretty low. So ends up being it's your special summon this to get the Ferris plays going. So that's it for the Vision heroes. Very simple, very standard Vision hero package. And then 1 copy of Adjusted Gold. Evil hero, Adjusted Gold. He's the only evil hero I play, and he's literally there just as discard fodder to get your copy of Dark Calling, so you can go into your other fusion plays. So you discard him, and then fuse off of your other level 5 or higher monsters, whatever ones you're kind of playing. So good card with him for the evil hero. So that's it for the hero monsters of this package. Next I'm going to be talking about some of the monsters of the Fallen archetype. So speaking of, the namesake of the Fallen archetype is Fallen of Albaz. I think playing just 2 of him is plenty. If you go any more into the 3, you end up having issues of not getting into enough of your hero plays. So 2 kind of gets you into the walking super polymerization that you may need, and kind of just be able to just fuse away some options if you need. So he's the main namesake there. And then for Despia, gotta play the same thing. Gotta play 2 Aluber Jester of Despia. He's just your search for any of the branded spells that you may need, and gives you a little bit of monster negate protection when he's in the graveyard to be able to special summon him out to negate some opponent's monster as well. So Aluber 2 of is good as well. I might play bringing up to 3 if I can, but I think as of right now 2 is a pretty good ratio for him. For the other 2 of, I have 2 copies of Keeper of the Dragon Magic. He's just a really good card to have 2. Searches Polymerization or any fusion normal spell. So you're going to get any of your fusions what you want to play with using him. And then finally for the last monster in the deck, playing 1 copy of the regular Dark Magician. This is meant to go into your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon plays, because then you get the full effect at least with 1 normal monster being able to go with Dark Magician. And if you go into Dark Magician, and obviously Fallen of Albaz is the main play, but if you open up with these 2 in hand, you can still activate Keeper, get a regular Polymerization, and then fuse these 2 away to get to go into Dragoon. So that's what I like, still having 2 of these and 1 of these to kind of, if you do have the Garnet of the Dark Magician in hand, you can still kind of play around and get some of the plays out. So that's it for all of the monsters. I know it's definitely a good I think it's a pretty good mix. Mostly hero plays with a little bit of the Fallen and other kind of mixed plays in there as well. So with that being said, let's go into some of the spells. So for the spells, I have 2 main searchers. Emergency Call to add any elemental hero monster from deck to hand, and Reinforcements of the Army. Rhoda, you're going to add 1 level 4 or lower warrior, so you're going to get pretty much any of your plays with either of these 2 cards for your searches to get into anything you really need. I like to still play a hard 3 Polymerization. I only have 1 copy. This is my favorite art of the Polymerization, so I'm playing 1 fancy Polymerization, 2 not. If I had other copies of this, I would play all 3 of this one, but just the regular Polymerization is still really good because you're doing mostly fusing in this deck. So with that being said, you're going to want to have your 3 polys. And then I'm playing 1 of each kind of specific fusion spell. one of the Dark Calling to get into for your evil hero, one Fusion Destiny for DPE, one Brand of Fusion for your Fallen plays, one Red Eyes Fusion to go into the Dragoon if you need that. I might actually pull this because it does brick you a lot not being able to do anything else by using Red Eyes Fusion specifically. And then one Miracle Fusion to go into the Elemental heroes specifically. So kind of gives you an option depending on which cards you're opening up. And then I have two other branded specific cards. I like playing one copy of Branded Lost. If you want to search this off your Luber, that means, and you play this right away, you cannot be stopped from your fusion summons. This is going to happen regardless. So it's good to kind of have this going there as another option to protect yourself a little bit. And then one copy of Despia Theater of the Branded, again, something you can search with your Luber, but if you some reason got rid of all your polymerizations, you don't have anything, you can still get any of your level 8 fusions, level 8 or higher fusions from the deck, which goes into any of the fusions that you're going to be playing. And then finally, I'm going with the original mass change, because the only mass change monster we're playing is Dark Law. So this is going to go into any of your Dark Heroes specifically for this one, or Mass Change 2. Again, if you get stuck with the Keeper of the Dragon Magic, or the Aluber on the field, or the Fallen of Albaz, you have the option to still at least go into the Dark Law, so you can still get into some sort of play with playing this. And then one card that you don't really necessarily need in the deck, but it's also good to kind of just have. You could put this into the side deck if you wanted, but just a copy of Puppy's Feather Duster, just because there isn't really any back row removals or anything in the deck other than the potential of getting the NST-like effect of destroying one card with the Stratos. So that's it for the spells. I know there's quite a bit, but I think it's good 1-to-1 ratio and a good searchers. You could bring your polys down to 2 if you wanted, but you can kind of balance between some of the hero stuff and some of the other fusion monsters you're playing in the extra deck. I think that's why that's necessary. And then finally, I'm just playing a few extra hand traps. I don't play any actual normal traps, except for the Infinite Impermanence, just playing one. I like having one as the option to go into get a negate if you have nothing on your field, or getting it in the column to negate the monster as well as the spell trap. So I like having that as a one of there. Again, you could play different ones depending, you could slide these in and around. All these next cards you don't necessarily need, you can kind of just play as you go. But for the same idea as Imperm, having Effect Failure of a one of, again, if you're playing during your opponent's main phase, Effect Failure, negate the effect of an opponent's monster, just a really good switch out right there. And then because you're playing one Effect Failure, only 2 Ash is a good ratio, I find, because then you don't want to have too many, because then you can't go into your own combos. So having the good disruption with Ash Blossom is really good there. So that's it for the main deck. I know there is definitely, the ratio seems a little heavy. There's a lot of spells, I know, but I think once you actually play it through, it actually does work out pretty well. Let's go on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm going to start off with the Hero and Hero Link monsters. We're going Extra Hero Cross Crusader, just any 2 warrior monsters, so you're going to get this out pretty easily. Bring him out, and then you can target any Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard to special summon it, to then go into Link Climb up higher if you want, or use it as effect to tribute the monster you just to add in another hero from deck to hand. The other one you're going to be going into is Dread Decimator. Dread Decimator is a really good way of just 2+ hero monsters, so go into Cross, and then any other one that you bring out to go into here, and with the 3 arrows pointing down, this guy does piercing, so if your opponent does have something in defense position, which is not as common nowadays, but it does happen, you plus an extra 100 attack for each hero monster this card and every hero monster points to. So if this is up here and you have other hero monsters underneath it, you're going to be doing piercing with this, and then even extra more damage. So you're just going to be doing some beat sticks with Decimator after you get your plays kind of going. That's all I'm playing for links. Let's continue on. So as I said earlier, the one mask hero we're playing is Dark Law. Dark Law is just the best thing because you're to do once per turn. If your opponent searches something, you're going to discard a random card from the hand. So basically the only thing that you're not going to want to do this against is like Dark Worlds, because they like to be discarded. But if you're playing against something like Tier Elements that is a very graveyard reliant deck, you can just get rid of things and kind of banish them. So obviously this isn't going to be good against like Flounderies pair up that requires their cards to be banished anyway, but it's a really good card to have. Like, no, shut down your graveyard, and it's just your opponent, so your graveyard is still fine. So that's why I like having one of the law. And then going into the elemental heroes, gotta play the main guy here, elemental hero Sunrise. On summon of Sunrise, you're going to be getting that Miracle Fusion to your hand, so it's the one card that searches Miracle Fusion compared to Polymerization normally, but you're to go into him. And then as soon as your other hero monster, any hero monster, doesn't have to be elemental, but any hero monster declares an attack, you can trigger this effect to then destroy a card on the field. So if you're back row reliant, you want to get rid of something like that, get rid of a card that is just a higher attack monster, Sunrise is a really good thing for that. And then we're going to play one Absolute Zero. You really want to use this as like a kind of last resort in a way to kind of just wipe your opponent's field, because if this card leaves the field, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So it just triggers automatically if it leaves the field. Now for some of the ones you're looking for from your specific spells. First one is Malicious Bane. Malicious Bane is really good because it must be summoned with Dark Fusion, and that's what you have that in the deck there. That's what you have the evil hero for. And this card's effect is during the main phase, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls with attack less than this card. And with a 3000 baseline, that's pretty good. And then this card gains 200 attack for each destroyed. So if you're destroying all of your opponent's monsters and then gaining attack, you're gonna easily get some OTKs with this. And this card itself also cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, so it's a really good card to have perfect one of here. And then going into the big boy himself, Destiny Hero Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer, or DPE. Everyone, because of Master Rule, probably knows this card, but it's a non-targeting quick effect destruction. Destroy this card, an opponent's monster or card or anything. But then the big thing about this is you have to remember to activate this on one that gets sent to the graveyard. So during the next standby phase, so even during your opponent's standby phase, he's just coming right back out. So you can just keep on recycling him pretty easily. That's what's really good about this. And then lastly, for the hero fusions, playing one copy of Vision Hero Trinity. I like this card as just something to kind of like just beat over some opponent's monsters, because on summon this card's attack doubles, so it turns from 25 to 5000, and it can attack up to 3 times per battle phase. It can't attack directly, but if you're just going to be attacking opponent's monsters, you're just going to get your OTK battle in. Especially if you play it underneath the Decimator, you're getting the 500 on summon plus however much additional attack you're getting from all the other heroes in the graveyard with Decimator. So getting into a boom 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 attack beater is really good. I really like this card. So now going into some of the Fallen of Albaz cards, going into Lebellion the Syrian Dragon, because really good thing about him is you just have to summon him out, discard a card, and then you can fuse from the field, graveyard, or face up banished. So going with him, you can go into a fusion material to then bring out either your Mirror Jade, or it's another way of going into the Dragoon. But obviously, speaking of Mirror Jade, once per turn banish effect. And then, as I mentioned earlier, since we run the one copy of Dark Magician going into Red Ice Dark Dragoon, the power of Dragoon is just so crazy. So it cannot be destroyed by card effects, neither player can target it with card effects. And then it's one of the original just Omni Negates, so you do have to discard for cost, but that's another reason why I like playing this deck so heavy, so you have a decent amount of cards still in your hand to activate with Dragoon. And then I like playing this card, Masquerade, the Blazing Dragon. Bring him out. It's just a fun way to go for like, cool, your opponent's activating effect. Here's 600 damage. Oh, here's another 600 damage. Oh, here's another 600 damage. So it's a good way of, especially just burning, especially for going into game 2 or game 3 if you want to win by life points. So I like having this here. This guy here is going to be your Albia Letnus, the Abyss Dragon. This is going to be bringing up a Fallen of Albaz plus a dragon monster, but you're mostly using this just for the discard for the effect of Mirror Jade Ice Blade Dragon, because the turn this is sent to the graveyard, you can search one polymerization or a normal spell from your deck. So if you have Mirror Jade, you then can search out your Fusion Destiny or another copy of polymerization, whatever you need. It's a really good searcher for any of those fusion cards again. And then lastly, a couple kind of generic good fusion cards. Pride Plant, Nagamista. you have the quick effect of basically adding a predator counter on an opponent's monster and then negating its effect. So it's basically one of the only quick effect negates that you're going to be getting, and it's kind of easy to get into this deck since you have a decent amount of fusion monsters and a decent amount of dark monsters, so it's a pretty good card to have as a tech option. And then lastly, I like having, you got to have the Guardian Chimera. You're just going to be popping and drawing because you have so many cards in hand and so many cards on field. So getting the draw or pop, and pop plus a 3 to 300 attack beater is just a really good thing. If you can't go into any of your name specific fusion monsters that you have in your deck, Guardian Chimera is a good way of just getting something, a big beat stick. And if you use polymerization specifically to bring this out, which you're most likely doing, this gets targeted protection as well because polymerization is going to be in your graveyard. So Guardian Chimera is a really good kind of option as a 3 monster, which you're going to have a decent amount of monsters in this deck anyway, so it kind of helps play it around with that. So that's it for the deck breakdown, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope this is actually going to play out pretty well. I know it is a little spell heavy. I probably could add a few more of the Despia support and a few more of the Fallen support, but this started off as just a pure hero deck when I was originally making it, and I'm still kind of experimenting a little bit with the ratios of which works best. Again, there's some cards you can pull. For example, you don't necessarily need to keep the Harpy's Feather Duster in here, nor do you necessarily need the Red Eyes Fusion because you have other ways of going into the Dragoon, so the Red Eyes Fusion can kind of break you a little bit. I'm going to experiment it with a little bit. I think it will be fun to play. And then next video, I will do a bit of a breakdown of how this deck actually worked, and I'll show you some of the, if I can remember what I did, I'll show you some of the hands that I got, and or some of the other test hands that I hopefully could have gotten. So make sure to hit the subscribe button so you know to see that when that comes out, and hit the notification bell as well because that's going to notify you when this video drops. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.